right, welcome back. We just finished up a 30-minute or so episode talking about a rule of life. My name is Caleb Prenovo.
And I'm Dustin.
And just in case you clicked on this video and didn't see the other one first, I'll put hopefully a link here. I should remember to do that. But just go back and watch the video on a rule of life first, because now we're here to talk about that more personally. What that has looked like in our lives as we've tried to understand that better and implement it ourselves, maybe even be honest about our failings in that and what we're striving for. And so this is just a space really for that authentic conversation to take place. And I'd encourage you to engage in this conversation in the comments if you can relate to something, or maybe there's an aspect of it that you'd like to share going on in your life. And maybe in a future episode, we can talk about what you said down below. So Dustin, I'm going to throw it over to you. I'll just let you start. I won't even ask a question because I don't want to just. Yeah, I'll just throw it to you.
Just throw it to me. Got the
floor.
Yeah,
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't even set you up. I was planning on it, but then I'm stumbling with my own brain here.
It's fine. It's fine.
I was gonna be like, go ahead.
I,
After I said I'm not going to set you up, I was like backtracking, trying to set you up. All right, go ahead.
It's like, what's going on? So
welcome to the whatchamacallit.
So I think, we definitely want this to be super practical. We want to share where we're at in this portion of the recording and episode, and I think it would be helpful just to be like walk through what I am trying to accomplish, how successful I am being with that, and maybe some failings and shortcomings and stuff I know I need to work on, but it's just difficult. While you were talking about it, you were talking about things we're doing, the successes and failures, and in my brain I'm like, yeah, we're gonna camp out on these failures for
more failures than successes. We're gonna tell you how bad we are at this.
Exactly.
So ask you, so why do you have this podcast again? This is why we need your help.
Exactly. I think, I think what I would like to start with is maybe I'll set you up, and then I'll come in. Yeah,
plot
role
twist.
Reversal. I think what I'd like to start with, if you're fine with it, is however you want to take it. If you want to just do rule of life in general, if you would like just to talk through some of your goals and like what you're trying to be specific on spiritually, if you want to rope in family, if you just want to rope in just general, like, hey, I rule of life, I'm going to the gym, X, Y, and Z. Like, I'll let you kind of take it where you would like, but maybe let's just start with describing what our rule of life looks like currently and what our goals are. Because that's the rule of life. It's given us the result. So what are you trying to shoot for, and how is the rule of life helping you get there?
Yeah. So I'll start by sharing where I think I'm doing well in, and we'll wreck the train after that. I'll first by saying I think my daily rule for life is not good right now. Like, it's not, it's definitely not where I want it to be. I have an idea of what I'd like that to look like, and I'll explain that in a minute. So I'll just, this little tease there of the not good. But there is definitely weekly and monthly parts of my rule of life that I think have become distinct staples that have helped me immensely. So for weekly, so part of our routine, I gotta stop saying the word so, otherwise I'm gonna have to knit a blanket. Stupid.
Gotta love the dad jokes. That was great.
I told my parents yesterday, I said, I might be nuts, but I'm not cracked yet. The jokes are terrible. I know, I gotta stop. This isn't comedy.
I thought I was bad.
So, oh, I said so again. I gotta stop that. It's gonna annoy me while editing this. Every Wednesday has been date night for my wife and I. Now, clarification: I don't mean we go out to eat every Wednesday night. I don't mean we leave the house every Wednesday night. I don't mean that stuff doesn't sometimes interrupt Wednesday night. I mean, as a general rule, Wednesday night is protected, where my wife and I are going to spend time together one way or another. And in that time that we spend together, we're not going to talk about the kids' school. We're not going to talk about our finances. Now, there needs to be meetings where you and your spouse are talking about the kids and their education and finance. Like, absolutely. But that's not what this is. Part of my rule of life is every Wednesday, I'm going to invest in my marriage and get to make sure I know my wife well and that she knows me well. That might just be an hour. It might be 2 hours. Sometimes it might be maybe it's an at-home date. Maybe you get to go out. It depends on what you're able to do. And for me, that changes from week to week. But I don't schedule meetings. I don't schedule phone calls. I don't take phone calls. I'm not doing work on my phone. That's going to be a time for us. Now, because of some crazy stuff the last month, we've had it, but not as clear and distinct as we have in the past. So that's a transparent part there. It has typically been a very well-kept thing for us, and that has helped our marriage immensely in how that has formed us as part of our rule. We're going to invest in each other. And I'll add one other thing with the weekly is every Friday night is family night. And once again, it can look different. The general rules of family night is not watching a movie. It's playing a card game or a board game or some sort of silly game with the family. And that means that when work is done and my wife's home from work and I'm home from work, our phones are put away and we're invested in this relationship building tool of playing games, family night with our kids. And as a family and as a person, those two weekly parts of my rule of life in the past year or so, I don't remember exactly. We've moved the days before, but for a little while now, those have been staples of our week that have helped reset us and form our family in an overwhelmingly positive way. And to the point now where our kids love Fridays. It's like, it's family night Sunday. And it's like, we played Uno for an hour. Like, what are you talking about? But it forms us as a family. So those would be like a good example of some weekly things. I want to pause there because I don't want to just keep rambling on about this. I want to, do you want to ask me any other questions about that or there's other stuff I could talk about too, but those a couple examples.
Sure. No, that's good. I think, that's you're trying to accomplish a emphasis on developing your relationship with your spouse and your kids. Mm-hmm. And so you have made the decision, hey, on this night, there are things that can come up, but I'm going to focus on my spouse and our relationship and not talk about the kids or finances, which 70% of your conversations, right? So,
right.
So you're focusing on that.
Believe me, you will talk about those things.
Yeah.
Just don't do it then.
Yes. Right. And then with your kids, I mean, they're for you specifically, they're, homeschooled. So, if other people are watching, it's like, oh, that's a great idea. You think about it, kids are at school most of the day. You're at work most of the day. You come home, eat, get ready for bed, don't see him again, and then do it all again the next day, right? And then Saturday and Sunday is going to be filled with errands, running the store, going to a service. Like, I mean, like your week gets pretty built up, and you look and you're like, my kid's 7, 8, 9, and time is flying, right? So you're setting this rule of life up to make sure you spend time with your kids develop that relationship. So I just want to, point out that's your goal in that. And so your rule of life is like, okay, I need to pause. I need to make this is important. So I need to pause. And so you're doing that on purpose.
Yeah. So I'll mix some bad and good here. Is so for a while, my rule of life, and I practiced it. It wasn't just here's my rule. Like I practiced it. Is oh man, I had it written down. I think I closed it though because here we go. So Justin Early put it. He didn't put something like this. He said he puts his phone to bed before he goes to bed, and he wakes up before his phone wakes up.
Yeah.
So I wanted that to be part of my rule of life. It currently isn't. Like,
Yeah.
it is ideally that, but I haven't been practicing that. And so there's an example of something that I know would form me better, but it's just been very difficult for me right now. But for several months, I practiced that faithfully where I wake up, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pray. I'm not going to check my notifications. I'm not going to see, no, I'm not going to pick my phone up. I'm going to pray. And then after I pray, I'm going to read some scripture. Now I think I definitely doing that first definitely formed me better for my day. And I really believe that would work probably for the majority of people as forming your day better as opposed to starting with your phone. My problem with that is probably because I'm not a very good morning person. It takes me a long time to wake up. But basically it's kind of a bad excuse I'm just gonna look at my screen until I wake up.
Yeah.
And so that being said, as of right now, that's been, where the mornings, I still having a hard time with that. I'll be honest. Part of that's just because there's so much going on in my life right now. And I'm really exhausted. And so mornings are even harder. And I'm already not very much of a morning person, but my wife and I we started doing, the two different things. These kind of mixed together. So for quite a while now, we've been fairly committed to having family worship. And what I mean by that is that can look like different things, but all it means is before the kids go to bed, we're going to pray together, read scripture together, before they go to bed and pray together. I said that twice. That can look like different things. In a really busy season, we weren't doing scripture reading. We were at least praying with them before they went to bed. And other times we've done different devotional books with them or just read through books of the Bible with them. And then sometimes also sing with them. Yeah. Different seasons can call for different times. For a while we had just been praying with them, which that's healthy, that's forming. But we recently, we want to do more than that. And so we actually recently got, there's no sponsor. Okay, guys, there's no, Who is Jesus? I don't know how to hold this. Here we go to the camera. There we go. Who is Jesus? 40 pictures to share with your family. And honestly, this is way better than I thought it would be. Like it's incredible. Yeah. It even gives you song suggestions to sing in the back. It has a reflection time to ask your kids questions, and it gives you answers to those. So you don't have to have this all figured out. It gives you answers too. And so far that's been huge. Now some nights we get back later than normal or stuff's going on. And so we just pray that night because it's 11 PM. We gotta go to we're not going to have, a 10-minute time of family words. We're just going to pray. We've been fairly consistent with that. Not always what we'd like it to be.
Sure.
But as far as my morning routine is struggling at the moment. Our family worship's been really on point. And then my wife and I, and this is way different for us, I guess, especially how I grew up. We could just open up a book of the Bible, read scripture together, pray together, instead of ending it by watching a show or whatever. And we could watch that, but hey, the day's about to end. How do we want to end this? So, what do we want to go to sleep with in our head? And so I wanted a tool to kind of help with that, just because of how tired we've been. So I was like, I need a resource to kind of, and so a little bit different. It's called, I don't know if you've heard of this, Dustin.
I have.
Be Thou My Vision, a liturgy for daily worship. Jonathan Gibson. I'm not sure who our audience is for this. I will say that like this is very Presbyterian, whatever that would mean to somebody who would know what that means. In other words, the title means what it means. It's very liturgical. So it's got scripture readings, it's got written prayers from early church fathers. It's got creeds. It's got different, but it's just. And I'm not saying that I agree with everything that's in it as much as it's very refreshing. I'll just put it that way. Like it's just
Sure.
and encouraging and challenging. And then of course it leads you to praying yourself and doing your own scripture reading and different things. But it's basically it could be as long or as short as you want. It could be 10 minutes or it could be 30 minutes. This has helped us. This is a built-in structure that has helped us just very recently in how we end our night. So sorry, I feel like I've been babbling on a while. I'm just going to throw some stuff out there. There's other stuff we could talk about that would kind of dive off the jumping board. Like in the future, we'll talk about silence and solitude and what we mean by that. We've actually talked about that before a little bit, but
yeah,
but this is all new podcast, all new content here. So, I want to do that more. And when I say silence and solitude, I'm not talking about like daily quiet time or daily. I'm talking about like extended silence and solitude. I should say it that way. So 2 hours, 3 hours. Well, Caleb, how do you have time to do that? I don't. So I do it once a month, and sometimes I have to cancel that once a month. But like, I try to do that once a month, or I should say reschedule that once a month. So it ends up being 6 weeks instead of 4, right? Whatever. Right. To where I schedule in advance, a month in advance, what day and what time I can be gone for that long and be unplugged. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you want to close it out on the yearly, if you've got anything yearly you wanted to share, what I think we could do is you do that, and then I will share some of the stuff that our family is going through now, weekly.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yearly, and then if you're up for it, maybe we circle back, and since this is a podcast about learning to be like Jesus, maybe we could kind of hone in a little bit more on what things are looking like for our week spiritually, and maybe any practices there, because I think you kind of touched on it in silence and solitude, but maybe we could circle back and be a little more specific on spiritually.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing so with that on spiritual things, I don't mean to take this one for granted, but I don't, because I'm a pastor, so it's sometimes I think of my brain kind of processes things differently, but like gathering for worship gathering with other believers. Now that context might look different, but like for us, our Sunday morning gathering with believers is a part of our weekly rule of life. Like we're gonna gather with believers on Sunday. That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're like, and that's forming us. This Sunday we're gonna have a communion together, and we'll even talk about how communion is forming us, for instance, and that's something else.
Do you have anything yearly for your family that you're doing? Kind of a rule of life.
Yeah.
I know that's very broad.
Yes. Once again, not necessarily in a spiritual sense as much.
Yeah, definitely. Just in general.
So in general, my wife and I, we try to get away once a year, just the two of us. That's been a general rule for a long time for us. That doesn't mean that you get a vacation. That's not, I mean, sometimes it's one day.
Yeah.
You know, you can drive 3 hours and buy one cheap hotel room and be gone for 20, 30 hours, whatever. Like, that's what I mean. That alone could be a big commitment. We've been blessed at other years to spend 3 days or to spend a whole week or travel farther.
Yeah.
Right. But we don't view that as much as a vacation as much as we're investing in each other by getting away, and not just each other, but spiritually too.
Sure.
As we're getting away to reset and to focus on God, in a different context. So, there's that. other than that, like yearly, that's the main example I can think of
Okay.
off the top. As far as um,
Yeah,
I, I
I
mean,
was gonna say. I'm sorry.
no, I was gonna say like when I said like my morning routine, like I have a hard time with that. I don't mean that I'm not reading scripture and praying. Um, that reading scripture and praying is definitely a part of my rule of life, but it's not as maybe as intentional or as I'd like it to be, in the sense of letting other things form how my day starts or whatnot. Anyway, if that I
Right.
just want to bring some clarity on that. I another thing, spiritual things is fasting. There's times where I've had that as like a monthly routine or bi-monthly routine. I recently had a whole bunch of stomach issues and like health issues I was working through, so haven't worked through that one as much as I'd like to. Yeah,
Sure.
I don't know if that's helpful. I'm just kind of throwing some stuff out there, and then any other questions for me, or like, or do you want to kind of share where you're at this point?
No, I don't think so. I think I could jump in and share a little bit
Yeah,
about
I feel
what
like
it
I've
looks
been
like for
rambling on.
us. Oh, you're fine. I I would say, in general for our family, I kind of came up with this a while back, and there are parts of it that we've been consistent with, and there's parts that we haven't. So, um, we set up what a nightly kind of routine would look like, and for us, Monday and Thursday night, we're going to try to do some kind of, um, to use your words, family worship, where we're with the kids and we go through a portion of scripture and we talk about things to pray for, and we try to see if God answers those and lets the kids be a part of that, right? So whatever they're dealing with at their school, most of the time it's someone hurt their arm or whatever the kids wanted to pray for, we'll do it on Monday and Thursday. um, Tuesday night is Taco Tuesday, and we have
Nice.
a neighbor of ours, and we're slowly getting more people to come, but we've had a neighbor of ours come and enjoy taco night, and we've done that for, I want to say, almost a year now, that we've done every Tuesday. And at certain points the day has to change, but in general it's Tuesday, where we have neighbor over, enjoy a meal, play games, whatever. Wednesday night is mom night, so mom gets to go out and just have some
Nice.
free time, whether it's with someone else or by herself, able to decompress and go spend some time. And I got the
That's
kids,
great.
and so we'll play stuff, we'll do stuff. It just depends on what's going on that Wednesday night, but that's basically my night where I'm keeping tabs on them, and Donna gets to go and spend a couple hours by herself or with a
Right. Two
friend.
things are being accomplished there, right? It's another opportunity for you to bond and form with your kids as a dad, and it's an opportunity for your wife to get refreshed,
Yes.
and get what she needs. So that's great. Sorry, I just wanted to interject that.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Um, let's see. Friday nights is family night for us as well. So most of the time, we are making pizza. It's like pizza night. So we're making pizzas together, and whether it's games or a movie, we just kind of deem that as family night. We really don't do much on Friday night, and so I love doing. I've got a couple of cast iron skillets, and so I've gotten pretty good at making pizza in a cast iron skillet and putting it in the oven. So we've definitely put down some pizzas over the last 6 months to a year. So we do that on Friday. Saturday is really just whatever comes kind of day, whether that's doing errands or whatnot. Whatever happens on Saturday is just kind of a free for all. And then Sunday we are getting together with another couple here that moved out to help plant the church with us. We're getting together on Sundays with them. We alternate back and forth at whose place, but we're doing that on Sundays as well. So that's kind of our rule of life. And to be honest, right now the kid devotion thing right now and family worship has been a little rocky of late. We've Landon has soccer that he's a part of right now, and so 2 nights of the week we're doing soccer practice, and so it's been really difficult to navigate around that. And so basically his soccer nights have kind of eaten up into those nights. So we're almost done with soccer. So we're going to try to jump back into that after soccer is over and get back on track. But everything else has been pretty consistent. Donna getting away on Wednesday, having Taco Tuesday, like it's been really good. And trying to reach out to those in the area and have them over and practice hospitality. It's been a big part of what we're trying to accomplish here and something we're enjoying. So yeah, all those other things have been pretty consistent. So really only thing that could really talk through on failure is the soccer kind of taking place of the family worship. So overall kept pretty consistent. So that's been good. We really don't have anything monthly that we're doing family wise. Honestly, it's actually more the yearly stuff that I have more of a tab on than monthly, which may sound strange, but because at different points in the year, we're trying to on purpose accomplish something. So, for instance, we want to have at least a week where we as a family are able to leave and go on a vacation, whether that's going to see grandparents or that's actually going somewhere on a vacation. We're wanting to do that. And so we tend to do that over the summer. We've done that for like the last 3 years now. 2 of those years is going to the Oregon coast and spending some time there. There's been one year where we went all the way back to see family in Oklahoma. So we just, whatever that looks like location wise, we're trying to get away for a week, just us and the kids. Right. So
I want to insert that is something we do. We try to do a family trip every year as well.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why I didn't say that. To differentiate from trying to get away a few days, just my wife and I, is something separate from
right.
our family trip. And once again, sometimes season of life, finances, all those things kind of determine what those things can be or can't be. But yeah. Sorry. Right. Anyway, that's something we do too as well. I was realizing, like, oh man, my wife and I go. The kids never get to go anywhere.
Just make that distinction.
just wanted to put that in there because we're putting this on the internet.
The other 2 things that come to mind pretty quickly is just because it's around the corner is the holidays. So every Thanksgiving we have a Friendsgiving, since we don't really have family around. So we invite a lot of friends, neighbors, families we're trying to connect with. We all get together on Thanksgiving and
that's awesome.
Divvy up the food, and we pack out this little apartment.
I love it, man.
So we've had a blast doing that. And then something to do with the kids every December. We've done this now for, I think 2-3 years now. We will take just some construction paper and we'll make these little rings and connect them. And we do 25 days and we hang it up somewhere. And on December 1st, every night we will talk through the story of Jesus coming as a baby. And early on when they were younger, probably 3 or 4 years ago, we had a small little book that was perfect for their age. Last year we had to change it up because they were getting kind of outgrowing it. But we'll take every night and we'll talk through the story, and we'll talk about, and kids, they're going to bring up all these questions, so we have to navigate through that. But in general, we're trying to talk through why Jesus came, events surrounding it. Um, why did he have to die for sin? So, I mean, we get into all of that, and it's just a refresher every year for them what this season actually is, why we're celebrating it. And every night we cut one of those rings and we're down a day before Christmas. And so, over time that gets shorter and shorter, and the kids get more excited and more excited. And then Sunday morning before we open the gifts, we read the story one more time and we say, now look, I know you guys are excited about all the gifts and seeing what you've got. And, something cheesy. I feel cheesy sometimes saying it, but Jesus is the greatest gift, but making that distinction of, hey, we're about to have a lot of fun and we're about to hopefully get some of the things you had on your list, but don't forget what this is actually about, why we're celebrating, what we're trying to stop and focus on. So we do that every year as well. So that's kind of what our rhythms look like.
Yeah, that's awesome. We actually just today, Emily and I were talking about what we wanted to do with our kids for Advent, and we actually were just, I think we might have ordered it today. There was a really cool resource we wanted to do for that. And I think it starts the end of November, because I think it's 5 weeks, and all these different things you're learning about Jesus you hang up on the Christmas tree.
Oh,
like
okay.
one
That's
a week,
cool.
like leading up to Christmas. That's pretty cool. And some other kind of cool stuff with that too. So I love Christmas stuff, especially when we can put that much more emphasis on Jesus and making that a big part of the month of December.
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, I just thought it was kind of cheesy. And I thought maybe it was just too much, but now I'm a sucker for it now. So
Yeah. Well, I don't know if we have a ton of time left, do we?
we are out of time.
Yeah, I was gonna say we didn't even get into the spiritual aspect of things necessarily, which
Not
I'm sure we
necessarily.
can kick to next week.
I will throw this in here. Something that I think is just an outright failure of a rule, something that could be part of a rule of life that would be a spiritual discipline in our lives right now is probably Sabbath. And when I say that, just for our listeners, I don't necessarily mean like a Jewish seventh day keeping of the Sabbath when I say that, but just having rest be a part of your regular rhythm.
Yeah.
And once again, this goes back to what you said in the first video too, of like, we understand you're working 2-3 jobs, all of that. And it's like, Sabbath, what are you talking about? And I get that sometimes it's just not going to be in this season. But I would argue for a type of Sabbath, of even if it's a part of a day,
Right.
where you're unplugged and you're resting. And because sometimes when we're not working, we plug into other stuff, and because we want to drown stuff out, as opposed to really resting. Anyway, that's something we can talk about on a different time, but it is something I wanted to mention that we didn't talk about, but I want to be honest about. I struggle with that probably the most out of all the different things that you can incorporate to your rule of life.
Yeah.
Sabbathing is probably what I stink at the worst. And it probably comes back to me not trusting God enough.
Yeah.
Because I tend to find too much of my identity in what I do.
Right.
Which is kind of the whole point of Sabbathing. So anyway, but I'll throw that out there for maybe a teaser for an upcoming thing. We'll talk about that, but we can wrap it up there. So with that, thank you guys for checking out our little, our after talk
Yes.
of the rule of life conversation we've been having today. If this was helpful to you, please like and share, comment below of any future topics you're hoping for us to talk about, or if you have any questions for us on these things. And we'd love to get connected with you in the comments. And thank you so much for your time and for listening today.